What's going on, everybody? It is time for Truth Will Set You Free, episode number 138. That's 138. Today's going to be a little bit, there's not a huge format today. Casey's on the road, by the way. He's using Elon Musk's Starlink, also known as the Mark of the Beast. So we've... I'm just kidding. I'm pretending.
You mean Neuralink? That would be Neuralink, not Starlink.
Neuralink. Sorry, different thing. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We're going to talk about a wide range. One of the big things, obviously, is NAACP is saying there's a travel advisory for Florida. Super weird. There's a lot of people that have now announced in the election. We're going to give the status on the Republican side and maybe a little talk about how the Democrats really don't want Joe Biden to run. And there's a post that I had that got a little bit of traction, and it's also been reshared by a lot of really big names. I got it from Ryan Weaver talking about the failures in the military and a gentleman that kind of bared his soul. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And as much as lately I'm not always ultra pro-Trump, I want to go over some things that he did, in fact, do for the military. So we're going to get into a bunch of different stuff on today's episode. Like this episode, share this episode. Go ahead and put in the comments where you're from. Let's get the algorithm tripped. Let's get people watching the show. What do I got? I'm wearing, by the way, one of our new shirts, the there it is. I didn't know where my nipple was. The Pure Blood shirt, which we also have that in a hat as well. Just go to awakenotwokestore.com. Again, that's Awake Not Woke Store. I'm going to put it on the bottom. Use 15% off, or use Awake for 15% off. Casey, let's go to you. You've been traveling the world. What's going on?
Which the world? Not quite the world, but just traveling and
We're
working.
American, Casey. We are the world.
Apparently, we feel like that when we police the world, but it's none of our business. It's been good traveling, but a lot of good things are happening back home with the political realm, which we talked a little bit pre-show, but a lot of announcements coming locally, and I'm hoping this is the beginning of what we might see as a big trend across the country of new people running. We'll see.
Start calling you local election Casey. That's
all that matters. Screw the president.
Dave, what's crack-lacking in your world?
Oh man, it's been a hectic few days. I had to pick my son up from school on Thursday because he had a soreness in his right side after he woke up with it, but then after gym class it got a little worse, so we went to the nurse. They pushed on it. Still hurt, so she called us and mentioned that it could be his appendix.
Oh.
So I went to the ER at 1:00. Was checked in by 1:30. He didn't get a CAT scan until 8:00. It turned out it was his appendix. And 3 hours later, at 11:00, he's going in for surgery. And he got out at midnight. Didn't come to until about 1, and I didn't get home until the next morning at 7:30.
Jeez. How's he doing now?
He's doing great. Like the inside stitches are not really bothering anymore, where he can feel them pulling and stuff, Yeah. But he was out the next day, like around noon, and he's doing good. We caught it early, so thank God for that. That school nurse, she nailed it.
Well, I mean, is he under 18?
Awesome.
Let's hope
he's 15. Yeah, he's 15 and 6 foot. So.
Based on the teacher of the year being found to sleep with students, let's hope that the student nurse didn't nail it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Dave's also,
that, we've been working on the Great American Summit. And I'm actually see some people here in the feed, D Pets. I think there's a couple other people here, Jackie Miller. You guys are in Texas. We have an event coming to Texas called the Great American Summit. It's in Dallas, Texas at Gillies. It's an incredible event all about self, family, community, and country. It's about creating more freedom in your life. It's about our nation's core values and principles. We have an incredible lineup of speakers, and I would encourage you guys, if you're in Texas, to get there. And if you're not in Texas, we have virtual tickets available on the website. You can go to greatamericansummit.com to learn more. Virtual tickets are super cheap, $27. You get to see the whole event for all 2 days, 3 days, Anthony.
I've given up.
2 days and 1 evening. How's that, right?
Good.
So we're doing a pre-event mixer the night before with some live music and Dr. Peter McCullough. So we have a really cool lineup. It's a very unique event. we're donating net proceeds to charities. Hopefully we'll be able to raise some good money this year. And I would love to see you all there or participating in some way, whether you can be there in person or be there virtually. We would love to have you. I think it's something that this country desperately needs right now.
Absolutely. It's that we've talked about every week. I know a lot of you guys watch it. It's the combination of love of country and also business and putting it all together. And he did pronounce it right. He said D Putz, right? It's Putz last name. No, just kidding. Anyways.
Oh.
Dave is actually used to, his son had the appendix, but Dave is actually used to waking up with a pain in his ass, but that turns out it's because Barb is typically Big Spoon. So
I think she would, I can be a big pain in the ass. You know that, Anthony.
You're not stubborn at all. I promise. That is not anything. Let's get the show started. What do you say, guys?
I love you.
And it's episode 138 of Truth Will Set You Free. We're going to talk a little bit about, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little pessimistic about some of the things going on in the world, and that includes people on the right, not as much as the people on the left. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Overall, just lack of sanity, the way we've treated our armed forces and veterans, and also, yes, the travel warning based on the from the NAACP to Florida. We got a lot of different stuff to talk about. Let's get into it. Again, keep sharing it. We actually had a decent viewership for a little bit. And I don't know what happened. So do us a favor and keep sharing this. Lately, Dave and I talked about it. Unless you're sharing something about a dog, we've had zero traction whatsoever on Instagram and on Facebook. So help us out. Air quality is horrible. So Casey can talk to this because he's been driving all over the country. So what did you notice from Canada? What was going on?
So there's wildfires up in Canada. I had no idea until I got to Idaho, and Idaho was disgusting. It reminded me of, 2020? We had major fires on the West Coast, and the air quality was just horrible. And it was all being pushed down, and now the jet stream changed, pushing it out, but I could see it still being in Colorado. Absolutely. I can see it being over there.
And then you've got what's going on in Italy right now. They just had their biggest droughts in the last 2 years has been their biggest drought in history. And then in a 36-hour span, they got the same amount of rain as they would typically get, I believe, did they say 6 months or 8 months? They got it in 36 hours. So there's massive flooding, mudslides. And of course, the conspiracy theorists that I don't necessarily disagree with have talked about cloud seeding and the fact that they were trying to alter the weather system and they overdid it. I honestly, at this point, there's a few things that I just won't go into, in terms of conspiracy, but cloud seeding is not one that I will avoid. I'm not going to lie. I do think that there is something to be said about that. Casey?
Yeah, go look up at the Vietnam War if you question it, and just look at how all the floods happened in that war. It was weird, kind of random. You can't really call it random, but when it comes to cloud seeding and weather manipulation, it goes all the way back to Nikola Tesla. He was trying to develop a way of being able to manipulate weather from the ground. So we have been striving to do it, and the government took all of Nikola Tesla's documentation and patents and everything when he died. So I would not be surprised it's in their hands. Not at all.
Do you either of you, Dave or Casey, do you believe in chemtrails?
I have issues with it. If you look at the history of it, we don't have a long history of them, and then are all of a sudden pretty trendy over the last 50 years. But there's something I don't have an answer for on that. I can't explain why all of a sudden they just started showing up at the quantity they have, and they're not tied to commercial airlining.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I believe they're possible. Like, I believe it's plausible. Like, even you could even argue that could be from some of the cloud seeding, like some of the residual effects of them put it whatever, right? But there's even national like articles from like ABC and CBS they've done articles on cloud seeding and how it actually is a science. And we all know that a lot of times before they actually release things to the public, like, hey, we have this study or we're looking into this, that they've been experimenting years before or have had the technology years before. So who knows? Totally believe it's possible, you know?
I always engage in the conversation with chemtrails. I'm not opposed to it. I mean, lately they keep finding these planes that have attachments that have some kind of chemical in them, including commercial jets that have just been strapped on, and people, again, it becomes too much coincidence to completely avoid. I think the shifts in weather patterns, I feel like this episode just is becoming now the controversy conspiracy theory episode. But if you want to know, I think that chemtrails are a real thing, and this is coming from somebody that a week ago was talking about we need to lay off the Trump is in charge of the military, blah 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 blah. But I do think there is something to be said. We have way too much technology to think that we are not at least attempting, and a lot of government spending that we don't see where it goes, to think that we're not attempting to change weather patterns. Period, in my opinion. So let's get started first with this. I want to share this. I want to share this video that Ryan Weaver shared. And again, I've been a little hard on Trump in the last couple months for a while, just because I do think some of the rhetoric is a little off. Granted, I've seen him speak. I love watching him speak. I think that what he did on CNN was phenomenal. I do like some of the other candidates, but there is no doubt that what he did for the military during his term is a huge deal, and it's been reversed by executive order by Joe Biden. And we already have veterans in this country that are going through absolute hell. And I want to share this clip that Ryan had. So,
this veteran, and he didn't expect that.
7 times over the course of the last 6 years, dude. The VA has continued to let me down. I just want some continuity of care with mental health providers. These doctors keep quitting, they keep switching. And then the one doctor that I really liked, who talked me off a ledge the last time, refused. I had a split because they fell in a network, and then they came back in the network. So I went the last 2 years dealing with my own demons myself and trying to hold it together. And then come to find out it's like May, it's like late May, and he denied taking my case back. April 12th, and I'm just finding out, dude. And now I gotta go back to some new doctor, and then I gotta open Pandora's box again because they're gonna want to know everything, and then I'm gonna have to live through working through that for a month. I just want some continuity of care, dude. I'm fucking so tired of it. I just want to be able to talk to the same person and have the same individual manage my goddamn meds. I've been off all my medications for 2 years. I've been doing it on my own, man. I'm just white knuckling. I'm gripping. Jesus, I'm so tired of it. It's not a lot to ask. I just want to be able to talk to the same person and not continue to have to retell these fucking stories that torment me. I fucking get it now. I really do. I just want some continuity of fucking care.
Government.
So what was interesting to me is when I shared this, my page has had some issues with suppression last little bit, but even looking at Ryan's page, it's also been on David Harris's page. It's been on, now I've seen it on almost every mainstream page, and the responses in the comments are what's even more chilling. This guy he's actually been connected. It's worked out fantastic. He's been able to connect to every human being known to mankind that can actually give him some help, but that doesn't speak for everybody that's going through it. But what I learned in the comments, and I've spoken with Ryan Weaver in the past about how they treat, military, and I've had many veterans on my shows before, talking about they don't help. I'm even shocked that he was getting at least some kind of psychiatric care, because for the most part, they just pump people full of meds. And then when they don't have the continuity of care, they're on these meds that if you try to get off of them, you are in deep trouble. And and because these meds shouldn't have been given out in the first place, they pass it out like chiclets, because the biggest funding for our military is pharmaceutical industry. Shocker. Creating lifelong users that are using tax dollars to have pharmaceuticals. So seeing this was a lot. And what I've realized is, with all the, we've got one tribe carry the load as some of our partners for the Great American Summit. We've got a lot of people that are doing a lot of great things, but it's still not enough. And the number is no longer 22. From what I understand, I hear it's closer to 33 veteran suicides a day. And on top of it, I think many veterans, especially those that are more on the conservative side, are realizing what they fought for was bullshit, a completely corrupt government on top of all the things that they have to deal with. So, Dave, what are your thoughts with the way currently our soldiers are being taken care of?
It's not just currently. I mean, they were spit on when they got home from Vietnam. I mean, we've never treated them with the care and respect that this country should. They're out there every day serving and fighting for the freedom so we could go to bed at night with our families. They do the job that very few of us are willing to do. And I'm Barb Allen's a Gold Star wife. Her husband was killed in Iraq, even, by another soldier at that. Someone who clearly had mental illness in his own light, right? With some of the things that he was trying to do with, talking about fragging this person and fragging that, like, it's not normal, but besides that, like, that's why I'm so passionate about this. Like, I feel like our veterans, we talk about, America first, like, those are the Americans who should be first in line with all the care, with all the treatment, with, not one homeless veteran. No, not one veteran should be homeless on our streets. Like, they should all have a roof over their head. They should all have the absolute best care. This man should never go, anyone like this guy should never have to go through anything like this. Like, it's just appalling, and it's sickening, and it's disturbing. Like, why?
Absolutely. Casey.
Yeah, the thing that's sad is there's a lot of people that we all say this. There's a lot of saying that we care for our military and them, but unfortunately, there's a lot less action. It's a lot of talk, and the only people that see it are the people that are related to someone that was in the military that go through this. One of my good friends that's even been on a couple of our lives at the very beginning, when I got involved with BetheChange, he struggles with it. He cannot stand the 4th of July. When he hears the fireworks go off, he really has PTSD and freaks out. And there is also some other friends that I have that I have to check on a regular cadence. If I don't hear from them in a couple weeks, they need somebody else to check on them. And we, unfortunately, as a country, have failed them. We have failed our military. And it's very unfortunate that our government looks at them as just a number. It's pathetic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people, Anthony, talk about our recruiting numbers, right? And how we can't meet, the numbers in terms of who we, each year that we want to recruit, like they're down this year, right? And a lot of people are attributing that to, woke policies and stuff like that. But I attribute it to more like people can see like how our veterans are treated. Like, how are they treated when they come out? What is the process after they serve for them to integrate back into society? Like, I mean, there's a lot of good things that the military does in terms of the GI Bill and things like that, but it's the people that are actually on the front lines who go into battle, who like pay the ultimate sacrifice, put their life on the line. It's like, how are we neglecting those people? Like, that's the thing that's like, I just don't get it.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, we could talk all day about the wokeness of the military, but the fact is, I think the American people, especially the people that are tough enough that want to become soldiers, have lost faith in both sides of the government, the right and the left. And we think that they have our best interests in mind, and it's sad. And it's gotten to that point from a recruiting perspective. Like, why would you join right now to go fight wars that we should have nothing to do with, to train people we should have nothing to do with? And it's sad. And it's, getting into the debt ceiling conversation, I'm watching the negotiations back and forth. And the one thing the Democrats are upset about is the one area of spending that the Republicans are not willing to cut is the defense budget. And why would we cut the defense budget? There is international turmoil. So this is where the Democrats are like, the big defense machine, they're warmongers. We're fighting a war right now in Ukraine, or helping, because of the Democrats and establishment Republicans. In terms of our defense budgets, that includes veteran payouts, even though they're saying that they are trying to cut veterans payouts. Our defense budget is to make sure we have a military that can protect us. There is a lot of gamesmanship going on with this debt ceiling issue that I think is exposing some of the weakness in the left in terms of having a plan. And usually it's the right that lacks in plan and usually plays defense. McCarthy has done a fantastic job having a plan, laying his dick out on the table, pardon my French, and saying, this is what we've got. What do you have in return? And this is where we're not willing to budge. And the Democrats are trying to use it as political football. And for the first time in a long time, I think the Republicans have the edge on this one in terms of what they're saying, because we can't cut the defense budget. We could spend better. We could 100% spend better in terms of what we do in the military. But right now we're in a bad place. We're not taking care of our veterans, and we're not recruiting. That's across the board. It's an issue.
Right. And that's the thing. You can't cut budgets unless you are willing to fix efficiencies first, right? Like, let's stop wasting money first, right? So we can actually see how much we're actually really overspending. Or maybe I think, we could probably cut back, right? But you can't cut back when money's going missing and you don't know where it's going to, like, because that's the money that maybe we could be cutting back on, right?
Yeah.
It's nuts. And then the whole thing with the veterans, it goes even deeper than just our vets. It goes to the military families too. It goes to the Gold Star families, like, and all the crap that they have to deal with. They lose benefits if this person got paid out on this life insurance policy. If Barbara Allen gets married to Dave Brown, like, she loses her benefits after her husband paid the ultimate sacrifice and left 4 boys, all under the age of 6, right? She should be getting these benefits for life, regardless of whether she gets married or not. Like, things like that. Like, we just, we chew them up and spit them out. And when we're done with them, we don't continue to treat them the way that need to be treated and should be treated.
Fact. Casey,
yeah. And when it comes down to this, like, the thing is, I was talking to my brother-in-law about this when I was at his house this last weekend. Enlisting is at all-time low in the military, and they are also removing their automatic pensions and their 50% pay, or whatever they get at their 20 years, depending on what rank they're at. They're changing that to where they have I think it's called TPS, but it's like a 401k structure that you got to pay into to get your retirement. They're moving them to it. So they're just turning them into your traditional businessman or person going to your work every day, when these people are fighting for our country to give us those freedoms to be able to do that. TSP, thank you. They're changing it, which now you're going to see enlistment at a super low, where they're not even getting any major benefits to retire. It's really sad that we're treating them this way, and we should not be looking at them the way we are.
I had a conversation with somebody that worked in the veterans, worked for VAs. She was an advocate for a long time. This was years ago, because my dad served-ish. He was stationed in Paris, France during Vietnam, so he never really saw wartime. But my dad was handicapped before he passed away, and it was pretty much since he got back, and who knows if it's related. But based on the rules of the military, he was actually entitled to more benefits than he was getting. But most people don't know this. The one thing that she taught me was, anybody, like, you could be the smartest man or woman in the room, fill out your paperwork perfect, and they will automatically reject it the first, if not possibly the second time, and you think you did something wrong. And this isn't because they're being cruel and insensitive. This is because we have actually overpromised without the ability to deliver. If we gave every benefit that is deserved, it's almost like if somebody comes into a job interview and we say, you're going to make $100,000 a year, and when you retire, we're going to be giving you $50,000 a year, kind of like police, like a police fund. That's how it's going to work. And then knowing while we do that there isn't that $50,000 a year on the back end. That's what we've promised to soldiers. And that's what I found out. We would absolutely, completely, unfortunately, bankrupt the country if they made the process easy enough for every soldier to get what they deserved when they're deserving their benefits. That's a massive problem. And they don't talk about that enough, because that would be recruiting disaster for people to find out there is not enough money for you to get what you deserve. You're going to have to go through hoops, flip around, backwards, upside down, and still potentially not get the benefits you deserve. And when it comes to medical, unless you are injured to a point where I can't remember what the levels are, you're just pretty much just going to get pumped full of pharmaceuticals and never get the treatment you care. It is horrible.
And guys, like, I feel like in one aspect, like, our country, the government is really missing the mark with the opportunity that serving in the military can actually hold in terms of improving our country as a whole, right? Like, they should make it so attractive for people to want to go, where people there is literally a line for people to get in, right, based on merit, right? So instead of college being the number one option, serving in the military becomes almost an equal option, because think about the things that you learn in military, the trades, right, the discipline, the structure, things that can really forge and carry our youth, further into the future. But they don't treat it like that. They don't treat it as a tool to like help our society, when they could absolutely be doing that. Just a food for thought. Yeah.
Go ahead, Case.
No, I was just agreeing. I think it's absolutely absurd. One of the other things that we talked about, I didn't know. Did you guys know that when the National Guard gets activated by the governor for, like, serving Texas, for example, protecting the border, those soldiers that get activated are not protected by the laws of being activated by the government to keep their job? Their job can fire them because they are activated by the governor and not by the president or Congress.
I didn't know that either. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So again, and I want to go through some of this, because I think it's important, especially since I have been a little hard on Donald Trump lately. And the interesting thing was, I had somebody in one of the posts, this woman came up with how great the VA was for her, which I'm not saying the VA doesn't do good things. I get that. And I'm not saying that some people's experience is good. But if you look at the actual, they take polls, it's like 21% is happy with their VA experience. That's a fifth of the veterans. And she spoke to it as an absolute and saying that I was way off base, et cetera. And I was very clear in this. And this is where I kind of black pill. It's like, are there's so many loud people that are just stupid in terms of what I'm saying and not able to comprehend. And she was just all puffed up, like, oh, I thought you wanted dialogue. And I'm like, I want dialogue, but I was saying, who needs help? Who wants to help? You're saying nobody needs help. And that is so far from the truth. It's insane. So Ryan gave a great, a lot, and I'm going to try to speed through. I'll say a couple things. So this is all the executive orders or things that Trump put into place. I don't know how many of them have been reversed by Biden, but many have, which, based on the veterans I've talked to, things are much worse in the last 2.5 years to get benefits than they were during the Trump administration. He signed the VA Mission Act, which made a permanent veteran's choice. It revolutionized the VA community care system and delivered quality care to home for veterans. VA services veteran confidence increased by 19% to a record 91% of all time during his presidency. He offered same-day emergency mental health care at every VA medical facility and secured $9.5 billion for mental health services in 2020 before he was out. Signed the VA Choice and Quality Employment Act of 2017, which ensured that veterans could continue to see the doctor of their choice and would not have to wait for care. Again, this is something that was clearly taken away by Joe Biden, because obviously we're seeing that just in that example and what people have said in the comments. Expanded veterans' ability to access telehealth services, including through Anywhere to Anywhere, a VA health initiative, leading 1,000% increase in usage during COVID-19. signed Veterans Affairs Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act, and removed thousands of ineffective VA workers. So he actually streamlined, like a business, a way to actually better run the VA. Signed the Veterans Appeals Improvement and Modernization Act in 2017. Launched a new tool that provides veterans with online access to average wait times. So again, I'm reading these and saying these because people always say, what did Trump do? So if you tell them at 30 minutes into this show or 29 minutes, say, if you want to know what Trump did for the military, go to 29 minutes on this episode. I'm reading through and I'm about halfway, so I'll speed through the rest. Launched a new tool that provides veterans with online access to average wait times, quality care data. White House VA hotline has fielded hundreds of thousands of calls. Formed and prevents task force to fight the tragedy of veteran suicide. So actually made an initiative in the White House to do this. Record low veteran unemployment. Placed 40,000 homeless veterans into employment with the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program, 600,000 into employment with the American Job Center, which has been reversed by Biden. Biden instead voted or moved to give free benefits without any kind of employment, which again is the socialist style of dealing with the country, which is giving a handout and not a hand up. Signed and implemented the Forever GI Bill, allowing veterans to use their benefits to get an education at any point in their lives. I don't know if that's been reversed, but I don't know if that's still a thing. Let's see. 12, eliminated federal student loan debt owed by American permanently disabled veterans. Now, see, not a big fan of getting rid of student loans for Tom, Dick, and Harry, but when it comes to people that fought for our country, I think that's a little bit more fair, especially ones that are disabled vets. Eliminated federal, comparing to 2009, 49% fewer veterans experienced homelessness nationwide during 2019. Signed and implemented the Haven Act to ensure that veterans who have declared bankruptcy don't lose disability payments. Signed an executive order to help veterans transition seamlessly into the United States, aka Merchant Marine. And last, made all national parks free to veterans and Gold Star family members. That's all done under Trump. So if you want to say, if people want to go, what did Trump really do? You can look just to the veteran community and military to see what he did during his 4 years.
You missed one. One.
What I missed?
He didn't start any wars.
That too. That's a very important one because right now we are facing international turmoil. So anything else on the veterans topic, guys?
No, it's just, I've always been, I've said this a lot of times in conversation. When a veteran serves, like especially in combat, and they're done so honorably, and they're done with their tour, they're done with their service. Like for me, my opinion is that they deserve red carpet treatment. Like they should come home, they should have lifelong, they should have housing for life, whether we give them a house, build them a house, whatever it is. They should have, I don't care. You could give them some type of, income, more income in terms of and then health coverage. Like they should have the best they should have the same treatment and benefits that our congressmen and women should have, and they don't.
Couldn't agree more. I agree. Let's talk about, okay, so really quick, people announcing their presidency. You've got Tim Scott announcing that he's running for vice president. That was a joke. Because really, I think we all know that he's trying to be Trump's VP. You got Tim Scott. You've got Larry Elder. You, of course, have Donald Trump. You've got Vivek Ramaswamy. Let's see. Who else? You've got Asia Hutchinson. You've got who else on the Republican side? Throw out names that have announced. Who am I missing? I'm missing like 2 or 3.
JFK.
Who is it?
Not JFK.
No, that's on the left. That's on the Democrat side. We also have Chris Christie. There's that one other.
Chris Christie. Really?
Yeah, and Mike Pence.
No way.
I thought Chris Christie announced it. He not? He's talked about it. Maybe
he's the most delusional person on the planet.
Maybe he's never met a buffet he didn't like either. Chris.
Oh my jeez.
I talked about him on a radio show today, and the radio guy made fun of him. So I feel like it's okay that I do. 4 days ago, Chris Christie could enter 2024 president race in a matter of days. I guess he is not.
Did you mention Larry Elder?
I mentioned Larry Elder. I like Larry Elder just from a perspective of bringing some intelligence and good conversation to the mix. Nikki Haley, I forgot about. That's another one. And of course, we're probably a day or two away. Thank you. I see Denise. DeSantis is probably this week is probably announcing his run. So
he has a big speech tomorrow on Twitter.
On Twitter with Elon Musk.
So I think it's interesting with Elon Musk because Elon Musk has thrown some support behind Tim Scott, which I think is a very interesting way of supporting Donald Trump because Tim Scott is such a big Trump guy. I find the connections interesting. The one thing that I'm going to say, and then I'm going to open it up to you guys, is I think the field, take away Asia and Chris Christie and Mike Pence, has a lot of great candidates. The Republicans have a lot of great options. Dave?
Yeah, as opposed to the other side. Which refuses to even have a second option, which is just, insane to me. But yeah, I mean, I really, really like a lot of the candidates. I'm a big fan of Tim Scott. I love Vivek. I've always been a DeSantis fan. And getting back to, the veterans, right? Like, when's the last time we had someone who actually served in the military as our president of the, right? Like, DeSantis could really make some headway with the VA and things like that as president. So it would be interesting to see. But I like a lot of the people in the field. I don't know what my dream ticket would be. It would probably be like a combination of DeSantis and Vivek, or Trump and Vivek. Like if Trump's the nominee, like I'm voting for him. Like I'm not, like there's no way I will be voting for a liberal. Like the country can no longer tolerate that kind of, well, I shouldn't say leadership. I should say lack of leadership.
Do you consider RFK Jr. a liberal though?
No, but I think they're going to push him out. So he's going to have no choice but to run as an independent if he wants to take a chance at this. He's polling at 20%, and
that's not bad.
No, it's not. But if they're not going to, he's not going to there's not going to be a primary to debate in. Like, he won't be able to debate Biden. They've anointed Biden, this decrepit old man who is destroying our nation, as the person who's going to lead their party still. And it's literally insanity. You even have Hillary Clinton coming out saying that his age is an issue.
From a 75-year-old woman, what she needs to she can't say what she should say, which his cognitive ability is the issue.
Yeah.
She's 75 herself.
But like I said in previous episodes, Anthony and Casey, like, I don't think Biden's gonna make it that far. I don't even think he's gonna be the nominee. Like, there will be a primary, and once he decides to bow out, you're gonna see a couple other people step in. I think Robert F. Kennedy has a chance. I don't think he has a shot actually at winning. But that's my. Will
somebody just ask him his belief system on climate change at this point? Because honestly, if he were to just say, I may have been overzealous 7 years ago, I honestly don't know. I don't know what it would take for me to not have a very serious eye on RFK Jr. I think my mom's a registered independent, so she actually is planning on voting in the primary for RFK Jr. So. And I honestly don't even know if I'm a registered Republican. I believe as though I'm still independent. I'm not sure, but because again, it's a crapshoot on the Republican Party. I love the idea of Donald Trump, but I don't know if he can win against the media machine that is the Democrats. I say this week after week after week.
If you were to put me on the ticker and say pick a candidate, my guy would be Vivek. I just think we need someone fresh. Right. And he's as fresh as you can get. He's an outsider. Yep. He's one of the most spoken and likely, arguably, probably the brightest person that has ran for president since our founders.
Yes.
I would be all in on him.
When it comes to this,
go ahead, Casey.
Russo, let me address your media thing. I think this is where Twitter is being set up as the perfect stage for all of this. Because DeSantis is going to take live questions, not scripted. So all of that's going to be done tomorrow. And Elon Musk did a video on it. It's out on Twitter if anybody wants to watch it. But when it comes down to what is actually going on, I think the media is going to be a mute. And I think that's going to shut down the Democrats and open the door for independents, because they're going to be able to do a stage of Republicans and independents, and Joe Biden's going to be asleep because his meds can't kick in fast enough. And so we're going to see a shift in how this election goes and how these debates are ran. and it's going to be led by Elon Musk out of anybody. It's going to be interesting. I'm excited for it.
And Tucker.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Daily Wire's announcement today. That's going to open the whole door. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, go
Daily
ahead.
Wire's moving all their stuff to Twitter. So with them moving all of their stuff to Twitter, it's just opening the floodgates for true media to be broadcast on Twitter and to be truthful. And so we got to expand over there.
And Casey, that's exciting.
Absolutely.
Like, I think it's really exciting.
While we've had it, we touched a little bit on conspiracy in the beginning of the episode. Do you find it odd that there is, and I don't like to play this game, how is it that our current president's earlobes change so much from picture to picture? I hate to drop into the weird, crazy stuff, but earlobes aren't supposed to change. This to me falls into that same category as I've never seen a pregnant picture of Michelle Obama. That's where this falls into.
Are they changing, or are people changing them?
Ooh, good question. I will tell you, I've seen a photo on like CNN or Fox when I've done the comparison myself, and I've been watching a live video. So again, I'm not looking at like a random Facebook post. I'm looking at a news post of him frozen, and then a video of him speaking at not a press conference. He doesn't do those, but doing a recap, whatever. And it was the right ear. I made sure I was like, all right, it's video, left, right. And it didn't have the thing.
I have to pay attention to that. I think I need to, like, next time I watch Biden live on TV, I need to go back and look at a video of him when he was a Senate and see if there's actually something with that.
I just think it's weird. That's all I want to say. I can't confirm or deny anything. I just think it's weird. Okay.
What does it prove regardless?
What's that?
What does it prove regardless?
Well, the intention,
whether his earlobe changed or not,
to say that it's literally, I mean, we're literally in a puppet system at this point. That's what that would say. Which even if it really is the perfect, we are already in that. So it really means nothing except for the emphasizing even more. I don't believe anything anymore. I don't.
No, we're living in a real life Weekend at Bernie's. We said that when he got elected. It just doesn't change.
Yeah, it doesn't. Now, in terms of the opposite side of the coin with Trump, I have just had some dealings recently with the ultra Trump people that make me want to shank myself. It is mind-boggling, the inability. It's just a stubbornness for some of that kind of people that makes it so hard to continue to do what we do, which is try to have civil conversation, look for truth, put on events. And it's like, here's the deal. People already think that us on the right, that we're bigots, that we're transphobes, that we're mean, that we don't care about poor people, that we're not. So just do your best to be extra nice. I mean, we could talk shit. That's one thing, but just be nice to people. That's all I have to say. That's directed towards one specific instance. That's all I have to say. Let's talk about the NAACP issuing a formal travel advisory for Florida on Saturday in response to what the organization described as Governor Ron DeSantis' aggressive attempts to erase Black history and restrict diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in Florida schools. So it's a travel advisory, meaning be careful if you're Black and you want to travel to Florida. The civil rights organization is the latest to caution travelers against visiting Florida. The League of United Latin American Citizens and the LGBTQ advocacy group called Equality Florida previously issued travel advisories under the leadership, they said, of Governor DeSantis. The state of Florida has become a hostile to Black Americans and in direct conflict with the democratic ideals that our union was founded upon, said the president and CEO, Derek Johnson, who lives in Florida. I'll leave that there. How insane have we become at this point? Dave?
I mean, when I saw that, I couldn't actually believe it. I thought it was maybe parody because it's so ridiculous. And now you clearly know it's all political, right? They just hate this man's policies. And a lot of this is over the fact that he doesn't want things like CRT taught classrooms, like certain things that he doesn't feel should be, funded by the government, for, in terms of woke stuff and, in our schools being taught, like whatever, like, but that doesn't mean like, that doesn't mean you should put a travel advisory in effect, or that has any kind of merit, because the fact is Florida is the number one state in the country for Black businesses. It's the number one state in the country for Hispanic businesses. That's a fact. You can look it up. And like you said, the guy from the NAWCP, he actually lives in Florida. And let's not forget what Florida did that no other state in our country did during COVID. They lifted the lockdowns in our schools before any other state. What class of citizen did that affect the most? Help the most?
Minorities.
Of course. So it's a joke.
It's crazy to me. What essentially this is saying is, we are going to give a travel advisory because it's dangerous for Black people to go to a place where they don't believe in victim mentality. Like, and that is the biggest thing. If you get rid of CRT, you are literally stripping the ability for there to be blame for Black people to say, we can't do this because. If you want to do a real travel advisory, you might want to look at Chicago, Illinois, where there's more.
I was just going to say that.
I mean, there's more Black people dying per day there due to murders than any place else in the country. This goes back to my original point of what world are we living in? Like, how do we fix this level of stupidity? It's brutal.
Yeah, that's a good one. Look, Ronnie Dyer's comment.
Yeah, Ronnie says, I talked to one of my Black friends about this. He said it shows how ignorant they think Black people are. I said Blacks are not stupid enough to fall for it. It also shows that the NAACP is, and we've known this for a long time, a completely corrupt organization. They feed off the same conversation can be had about the billions of dollars raised for Black Lives Matter when not a single dollar went to Black people. Nothing. No, it is a political ploy. The money that went to Black Lives Matter organizations and funding went right back into Democratic coffers. And this is the area, literally, they're trying to feed off the vote. And it's not even Black people anymore. They are using the idiot white suburban liberals' guilt to say, this is why you have to vote Democrat, when Black people, and I'm going to ask you guys the same question. Would you have a better chance of convincing a white liberal that what the truth is in terms of CRT and the way Democrat voting, Republican voting? Would you have a better chance convincing the truth to a white liberal or to a Black person? What do you think, Dave?
That's a good question, actually.
Casey, what do you think?
I feel like
a white liberal.
You think you guys? Wait, go ahead, Dave.
I think I watched that. I don't know if you guys saw the interview with Ice Cube from a few days ago.
Yeah.
Where basically he's like, and Charles Barkley expressed this too. The Black community has been voting Democrat for 50 years. Nothing's changed. Like, and Ice Cube was like, it's time to, the Black community maybe consider not voting for the Democratic Party anymore. So I think there's a lot of disenfranchised voters that in the African American community, the Black community, that would be, if they were approached in the right way, if Republicans actually campaigned in these neighborhoods more, that they could absolutely influence them and show them, the good side.
So, Dave, you vote that it's easier to have a real conversation and potentially sway a Black voter.
I wouldn't say it's easier, but I say it's a conversation that needs to be had no matter what.
Casey, you think it's white liberal?
No, I was saying which one was more difficult, and white liberal is more difficult, is what I meant.
Absolutely. They're so entrenched in their guilt that is they have nothing to do with, unless they really are guilty for something. But the problem, and like Dave, you nailed it. The ability for Republicans to go into inner cities and actually talk. That's the problem. Black people have been indoctrinated into voting Democrat for generations. They just believe that they have to. And you could look at the history of pandering to Black voters and why it is just, it's a tradition instead of a knowledge base. and that's why Cash was so effective, is when you have an actual conversation, it doesn't take much to go, this is what's going on. Look at it. Because a lot of them, they've been disenfranchised by media and news, so they don't watch the CNNs as much. They don't watch the mainstream media. Now, CNN has a lot, and MSNBC have a lot of black anchors because they know that they want to portray that to the white liberal voter. But when it comes to black people in inner cities, they don't care to watch the news. They're fighting for whatever they can possibly get. They're fighting to survive and pay for their families. And when it comes time to vote, if they go vote, typically they go, this is what we've always done. We got to vote for the Democrat. But if you actually take the time to campaign and talk to them and let them understand that, no, we're not all racist. I think it's a much more attainable goal. And then if you can get the voice of the black people to go, okay, we need to actually have a conversation, they can convince the white liberals. So I think instead of starting at the white liberal level from a campaign, I feel like this is the beginning of my 2028 campaign to run for president. You work for the black vote, not just to get their vote, but to convince them and to talk to them, to share with them the truth so that they can be a purveyor of truth for the white liberal. To me, that's the only way that Republicans and conservatives can live past this next election, because the indoctrination on young liberals in this country and young kids is too strong. It's my opinion.
Yeah, and Russo, I don't know if you remember when I first got involved with BetheChange stuff, there was a conversation I was having with one of my friends, which happened to be a black man, and he is a liberal. His wife is a white liberal. And I was having a conversation in talking about Black Lives Matter with him, being civil. We were going back and forth. She chimed in and lost it. Just flat out lost her mind in the messaging. And all I did is I replied in there, and I went back to her and I said, I am having a conversation with my friend, not you. Please see your way out of this conversation. And we continued having a civil conversation, but she is the one that lost everything, like lost her mind. And there was no reason for it. When we were just having a civil back and forth about BLM, I don't know what the difference is, why they feel the need to do it, but it's just like a lot of people are pointing out in the videos now, the LGBT, the alphabet people. Why is it always the ones that are always very heavy set that are always fighting for everybody?
Right. No, and you're right. I mean, my two closest friends that are no longer closest friends, I married a couple that was a black man, white woman, which again, to me is and nobody judges that, which is such a sign of a progressive country. We are in a place that nobody gives a shit what your race is or what your sexuality is, except for a couple people, like we know who they are. Like very few people care anymore at all.
Look,
and
here,
I remember he was black and him and I had political conversations. He was somewhere in the middle, and she just made it worse and worse and worse. And she had a post that I'll never forget right before we all stopped unfollowing each other, when she said, by the way, he worked at a Porsche dealership. Now he works, I think, for Ferrari. I just can't believe I'm in a country where I have to worry so much about my black husband making it home without being killed by police. I'm like, holy shit. You are affluent. You are upper middle class. You don't have this risk. The worst case scenario, he might be pulled over 30% more than a white person. And that's a high estimate. And all he has to do is give his license and registration. That's it. And that sucks, but that's life. Based on the criminal statistics, it happens. So she made him just go far off the deep end. And then my closest friend, Juan, black guy, he ended up marrying a white woman. And it was all of his girlfriends had been white. All of his wives, he liked white chicks. And his second wife is a girl that made him ultra radical pro-black. He was the biggest. He was my favorite. He was the number one first person there, best friend at my 4th of July parties. When last year I saw him after being married for a couple of years, post 4th of July is not a holiday. Like it was something along the lines of 4th of July isn't a holiday. I only celebrate Juneteenth. I'm like, wow. And he was the one that explained to me what hermit crab mentality was and how bad the black community was to his family, his uncle, and how they didn't support each other. But now all of a sudden, because of the white liberal wife. It's just it's sick and twisted. I don't get it. That was my sorry. I'm gonna
Look, this whole NAACP thing is it's no different than like the Russian dossier, right? When you are fearful and you don't have policies to stand on because your approval rating is hovering around 30%, and you're literally the worst president in 80 years, and you're about to have to campaign to run for re-election, and there's a man in Southern Florida who just won in a landslide, who is doing everything in terms of leadership qualities that this president should be doing, but has the inability to do any of it. And when you have the Hispanic vote behind you in such a large way, that is the single reason why DeSantis swept everything there is to sweep in Florida, you bend to tactics like this because they have no substance. It is purely political. And it gives, and this is coming down from the top. Like, we have to do something to stop this man. We have to do something to stop the Republicans because, it's going to be, a disaster. Like, we have to do something. And what do they always turn to? Racism, sexism, the same old standards, right?
Well, and let's look at this in a different perspective. I'm going to kind of pivot, but look at the two sides that we have in the political arena. You have the left that's holding people up that really just we need to let them go and just live out their final years. Dianne Feinstein, why is she still sitting as a senator?
Because she can't stand up.
Like, why is she still there? They're still holding her there because they're afraid of the change that could come if they put that seat up for an election.
Yeah.
They are afraid of what's going to happen with Joe Biden if he doesn't run for re-election again and they play this game. They're doing this with all of these older people in Congress. We have to change it. And you have on the left, they're trying to bring the younger generation in. So you have AOC. But then you compare to the younger generation in the more independent conservative side, you have Byron Reynolds, you have Matt
Josh
Gaetz,
Hawley.
you have Vivek, you have all of these people that are just going to make them look ridiculous going forward in politics. I really think that this is a change of the two-party system. I don't think the liberals have anybody that's going to be coming up to hold a candle to anybody else on the opposing side.
She's not running again, Michael. I don't think she's going to walk again either. I think one of the things we forget about Dianne Feinstein, she was the, what is she, a senator or Congress? I always forget.
I think she's a senator.
Senator. She was the one that got Kavanaugh. She was the one that 2 months after a month after he had already been gone through the approval, and all, she was the one that filed the paperwork. So again, they're these older establishment politicians are used as pawns, plain and simple. That's what they're used.
Oh, and one last point, right? Let's not forget who is also in Florida. One of the biggest congressmen right now going out there. Who is it?
Byron Daniels?
Byron Donalds, right?
Byron Donalds.
Yeah.
Well-spoken black congressman from Florida who is getting a lot of national attention because, he's legit. Like, he doesn't hold back. Like, he tells it like it is. And he's from Florida. Like, I wonder what he thinks about this.
I think he's the future of the Republican Party.
Yeah, agreed.
To be totally honest.
1000% agreed.
He's too young right now, but I think he's somebody. I mean, he's not that much younger than DeSantis, but he's about 8, I think 7. I think I would love to see what happens with him in 28 and 32.
Yeah.
So, what was the last thing I was going to say? Oh yeah. By the way, if you're wondering, if you want to jump back on the Bud Light bandwagon, Bud Light's free. Essentially over Memorial Day weekend, you can get cases for $15 or less, and they have a Memorial Day rebate for $15, so you could drink free Bud Light. If you go woke, you go broke.
Well, they're doing that because they offered to buy it all back.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm debating what to do with the stock because I feel bad. I feel bad for the people that are distributors, and I mean that's their livelihoods. They had nothing to do with this, and right now they're literally having to look for other jobs. It's, to me, it's very similar to being forced to vaccinate. Like, these guys had nothing to do with it, and most people that I know that work for Budweiser are conservative, and they're like, it's across the board. It's decisions made by a corporation that just, it blows.
Look, Budweiser sold out, man. American company, like lots of history right here in Cooperstown, New York, where it started, and they sold out. They sold out to a global company, and this is what happens.
And I mean, Coors and Miller is just as guilty, to be totally honest. I mean, they did the whole pro female, and I was always, I kept saying, like, if you want to support Pride Fest, I don't care. That's great. That's fine. It's very different. But then they respond with this super weird ad. It's like, you know what? This is what I'm curious. I would take the risk if I was in a marketing department, like if I was with one of the auto manufacturers that right now, every single one of them, Ford, Nissan, Chevy, they've all got their ultra LGBTQ Pride Month ad that they've been running for a year, and they're even blasting it out even more. I would grow some balls and say, guys, I would love to see a CEO do a commercial saying, if you purchase our products, I don't care if you're gay, you're straight, you're transsexual, if you work hard, if you don't work hard, but if you like our products, I appreciate it. We're an American, we have American workers, American brand, and take the politics out of it. How phenomenal of a commercial would that be? It's not judging anybody. It's not shaming somebody from the other side, but it's just simply saying, we will not pander. We're not going to create an ad for 2% of people, but we are just going to continue to make quality products. If you would like to support a company that supports American workers, buy it. That's what I would love to see somebody roll the fucking dice, grow some nuts and do that. That's what I would love to see. I would literally save up my money to buy a product. I would find a way to only purchase that product next. That's just my personal opinion. That's where I ended on my end. I'll let you guys have the last word. Real quick, guys, I've had it on the bottom. A lot of you guys use the supplements, thedrartisshow.com, BFD at checkout for 10% off. He's actually got a whole new subscription plan that you actually can save money if you're one of the regular users. And I know we do have a couple of people out there. And of course, the Pure Blood line is out. We're going to be altering the website soon to have a whole bunch of different tentacles. Casey's going to have some extra work to do. He's a wicked savant when it comes to being a nerd. We've got the Awake Not Woke hats, Pure Blood hats, Pure Blood shirts, all the different things. And I think that's all I got for you. Dave, I know you're going to talk about it. So Great American Summit is on the bottom.
Yeah, I don't want to keep beating the drum, but look, if you want to be a part of a pro-American event that's all about America's principles, core values, a passion for freedom, entrepreneurship, the American dream, you want to see some dynamic speakers, some amazing performances, whether you can be there live or in person, just go to greatamericansummit.com, check it out, buy a ticket, support us. Again, I think it's something that America desperately needs right now.
Yep. I did forget to mention Target, and I'll just keep it simple. Fuck Target. Go ahead, Casey.
They said that a long time ago when their CEO came out and was like, you don't need guns. Like, yeah, I don't need to shop at your store. That's how I feel about that. Yeah, when it comes to being, like, we talked about elections, we talked about a lot of things, but just be on the lookout locally. Like Russo was making fun of me earlier, but local elections are where it really matters. The president is not going to change your life from a day-to-day perspective. Your local community is how it's going to be done. Your mayors, your city councils, your school boards, get engaged there and be watching for who's going to be running. Yes, pro-local elections, facts. But right now here in Utah, good news, Mitt Romney has someone that's going to replace him. Trent Staggs announced today he's a mayor in a city next to mine, and you'll see his face all over a senator if he doesn't have another one that's going to come up. So it's a good thing.
Romney is a steaming pile of hot garbage. Have a great evening. God bless. Take it easy.